She had everything: money, luxury, a mansion by the sea, but not the one thing she craved most: time and true love. Her husband could give her the world, but never his presence. In the silence of wealth, her heart ached. Until one emotional choice reminded them both that time, not treasure, is the real currency of love. Please don't forget to subscribe. My name is Emily Thompson. On the surface, my life looked perfect. I lived in a beautiful mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Malibu, drove luxury cars I couldn't even pronounce, and wore designer clothes that came straight from fashion weeks in Milan. My husband, William Thompson, was a self-made billionaire. He owned real estate across the country, sat on the boards of tech giants, and was admired by businessmen and envied by men everywhere. People called us the golden couple. They thought I had it all. But behind every glossy magazine cover and social media smile, there was a story I never told. A truth that sat quietly in my heart like a forgotten letter, waiting to be read. Will and I met when I was 24. I was working at a non-profit art gallery in San Diego. He walked in one day with a check worth more than the gallery made in a year. I remember how I felt, intimidated, but also curious. He was tall, confident, and impossibly composed. He looked at me like he already knew something about me I didn't know myself. He asked me to dinner the same night. 1 year later, we were married in a private ceremony on the cliffs of Big Sur. I wore a white silk gown, and he whispered in my ear that he would take care of me for the rest of our lives. At first, I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. Everything I'd ever dreamed of was handed to me on a silver platter. Paris weekends, breakfast in Rome, birthdays on private yachts. Will made sure no material desire of mine went unmet. But the more he gave, the more I realized something vital was missing. Time. Not just the minutes on the clock, but real, meaningful time. The kind of time that makes you feel seen, heard, and valued, not just kept. Even on holidays, our conversations turned into schedules, meetings, and travel plans. When I would reach for his hand during dinner, he'd nod without looking up, still typing an email. When I cried one night, quietly in the corner of our room, he didn't even notice. He had everything to give, except his presence. I tried to fill the silence. I took painting classes, joined yoga retreats, even volunteered again at the gallery. But no amount of hobbies could fill the empty space beside me every night. And no designer bag could replace the feeling of being held by someone who truly saw me. I remember a particular evening, clear as day. It was our 6th anniversary. I wore his favorite navy blue dress, did my hair just the way he liked, and lit candles all over our balcony. I made his favorite dinner myself instead of calling the chef: lobster risotto with garlic lemon asparagus. The sun was setting over the ocean, bathing everything in gold. I waited. And waited. At 9:47 p.m., he called. "Babe, I'm stuck in Hong Kong. Major deal happening. Rain check." That was it. No apology. Just rain check. I sat there alone, eating the cold risotto. My tears tasted salter than the sea air. That night, something inside me changed. I stopped pretending that wealth could make up for love. Will wasn't a bad man. He never hurt me, never cheated, never disrespected me. But his absence became a quiet cruelty, a neglect that didn't bruise my skin but scarred my spirit. He gave me diamonds but never asked how my day was. He built me a home but never sat with me in it. I tried to talk to him. Many times. "I don't need all this," I told him once, gesturing at the room full of gifts. "I just need you." He kissed my forehead and said, "You have me, baby. I'm doing all this for us." But us started to feel like a ghost, an idea he loved more than the woman standing in front of him. One day, I met someone who changed everything. Not in a romantic way, but in a way that made me remember who I was. His name was Mark Davis, an elderly man I volunteered with at a retirement home. He had lost his wife the year before, but every time he spoke of her, his eyes lit up with love that hadn't faded. "She didn't care about money," he told me once, smiling softly. "She just wanted me to sit with her while she read poetry." I did that every night for 47 years. I remember feeling a lump in my throat. That's all I ever wanted too. That night, I looked at my reflection for a long time. I was 32, living in luxury, but felt like I was fading. Who was I beneath the perfect makeup and the silk? Just a woman hungry for something that couldn't be bought. Time. Attention. Love. I wrote Will a letter. Not to blame, not to accuse. Just to be honest. I told him that I appreciated everything he gave me, but that I was lonely. I told him that while the world envied us, I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. I left the letter on his nightstand and went to stay at my sister's place in Portland for a week. Will didn't call for 3 days. When he did, his voice was quiet. "Emily," he said, "I read your letter. And I'm ashamed. I thought I was doing the right thing by giving you everything. But I forgot the most important thing. Us." I wanted to believe him, but I had heard promises before. I needed more than words. A few weeks later, he showed up at the retirement home where I volunteered. In jeans and a sweatshirt, no assistant, no driver. He asked if he could help paint with the residents. I watched him struggle with a paintbrush, laugh with a 90-year-old woman named Pearl, and wipe his hands on his pants like a child. For the first time in years, I saw the man I married. We sat on a bench outside after the event, just the two of us. He looked at me and said, "I don't want to be a man who builds empires but loses his wife. I can't buy your time back. But I can show up from now on. If you'll let me." I didn't answer right away. I just held his hand. It was a start. It took time. Months of therapy, real conversations, and him learning to turn off his phone during dinner. There were setbacks, but also breakthroughs. He started taking Fridays off. He brought me coffee in bed on Sundays. He listened, truly listened, when I talked about my day. And he even came to one of my art shows and stood in the crowd like just another man in love with his wife. We traveled again, not for business, but to reconnect. Not in first-class jets, but in rented cars on forgotten roads. We visited small towns, ate from food trucks, and danced barefoot on beaches. Slowly, our love grew not from luxury, but from shared moments. Moments money couldn't buy. Today, as I sit on our porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Will beside me, I finally understand something simple but profound. Love is not measured in carats, but in minutes. Not in square footage, but in footsteps walked together. Wealth without time is just an empty gift box. And if there's a lesson in my story, it's this: don't wait until the silence is too loud to hear the truth. Time is the currency of love. Give it freely. Spend it wisely. Because in the end, it's not what we have that matters. It's who we have, and how well we hold them when the world goes quiet. Will still runs his empire. But now, every night, he comes home before dinner. He holds my hand, turns off his phone, and says, "Tell me about your day, Em." And I do. Because finally, we both know, time is the most precious gift of all.